Hello everybody, it's Brian again from Military Families United checking in from Aguadilla. You know, there's so much history in the United States military, and that includes right here in Puerto Rico. We've come to the Ramey Air Force Base Museum to give you a quick tour.
Yeah, hi, I'm Gerry Giles. I'm the director of the Ramey, well, I guess we could call it the Brinkenfield Ramey Air Force Base Museum, which we started 2 years ago. So this is our nascent museum. I'd like to show you what it's all about. Brinkenfield began about 1936 when the United States Army and the military and the government was concerned about protecting the approaches to the Panama Canal. And Puerto Rico happens to be a territory of the United States since 1898, and its position geographically turned out to be quite appropriate. So, in 1939, George Kenney came here on a survey of the island and found this to be the best location to establish a large-scale airport, something that could send out bombers. And then our airplanes came in, they were brought in, and starting out with smaller aircraft, and we eventually came into the larger ones, which are the bombers. And here's an extremely rare color photograph of a B-18 bomber. And we also had coastal defenses. We had cannons here that could shoot at ships that were invading Puerto Rico at that time, that would threaten our base. The remnants of that would be this. This is located on the golf course here at Ramey now. But life went on normally, and eventually Brinkenfield became a important jumping off place for aircraft leaving the United States from Miami, jumping down to Puerto Rico, and then continuing down to the point of Brazil, Recife, and then making the jump across to Africa, which would continue over to the eastern, going north back to the England, and then also to Moscow, but eventually the North African area, which helped on the invasion from the southern front into Europe. Lots of cargo planes came through. These represent models of those particular aircraft in this area. And the interior of our hangar. This is a 1943 photograph showing what the base looked like during the war, during World War II, an aerial photograph by a photographer from one of the magazines, I think from Life magazine. As the war came to a close, then Brinkenfield's operation became strictly as a transport between Europe and the rest of the world, basically the United States. And in 1948, we participated with the C-54s. There was a squadron that we were flown from our airport all the way to Berlin to participate in the Berlin airlift. So we're real proud about that too. In 1948, the base changed its name. It became Ramey Air Force Base 1 year after the Air Force was founded in 1947. It was named after General Howard Knox Ramey, who was a general of the 5th Air Force in the Southeast Pacific during World War II, and he was lost at sea in 1943. From that period on, the base became a different kind of purpose, and some of that was for helping to refuel other aircraft in the area. We also had the B-29s to the B-50s, which became the tankers of the Air Force at that period of time. And then, of course, in 1952, in came the monster aircraft, the B-36. And they were here for 6 years. And we have quite a bit of history of that, but we do have to mention that the B-36, as big as it was, and it was the most modern bomber of its time in the 1950s, it never dropped a bomb in anger on anybody. This is an aircraft that scared the Soviets into backing off quite a bit. In 1958, we transitioned from propeller-driven aircraft over to B-52s, and that was an important era and became important for us until well into the 70s when the base was finally closed. And the rest of our aircraft here show that we our roles went from bombers to reconnaissance aircraft to tankers to military transport aircraft. And then finally in 1973, the base was closed for economic reasons during the Nixon administration, as well as many other bases throughout the world. So that's our history here, but we still continue on. We have lots of history of the base, the people who lived here, the students who came to school, the dependents, the people who still live here in the area who were dependent upon the base for living, for economic reasons, and so the base lives on in many ways. And that's what we're trying to do here, is show that and demonstrate to the public, those who knew and those who did not know, the history of Ramey Base. One of the facts is that the history still continues, and we are taking place and trying to participate in that sort of thing too. And right over here, if you follow along in our little historical scenario, our rescue aircraft that participated here. And then finally, over here at the far end, we have our scenario of Coast Guard aircraft, which we still have a Coast Guard contingent here. Air Base Borinquen is very important for us because it's the livelihood of the area for us. So we keep, history is still going. Come on by anytime, we'll welcome you. Saturdays we're open regularly every Saturday of the year.